Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Friday. We all made it. Happy Friday. It's time. Once again, we're looking for a top. Clearly, we've been looking for a top for some time, and we're getting into the upper edges of the expanded wedge that is our primary count. We will look at that on the daily time frame. So this is an important area here for a Friday. We're going to look at SPY on the weekly down to the 65, and we'll on the 65 minute we'll check out QQQ, IWM, the VIX, and maybe we'll check out the Dow, the DIA, if we have a little bit of time. And then this weekend we'll go over a lot of the divergences that have happened. We'll reiterate that since we haven't visited those in a while. We are clearly aware that there's negative divergence on multiple time frames from the monthly down on all of the indices. So we're going to check that out this weekend. All right. So if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Tender logo and subscribe. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for all of the likes and the support that has helped this channel grow. So we'll continue to put out this information. Now, jumping into it, we have SPY on the weekly time frame. We don't really have any sort of topping candle. There's nothing really on this time frame that says, hey, we're getting a reversal. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to. For example, this candle over here, very similar to this candle here. You know, we could gap up on Monday and just gap and crap. So we have to look at multiple time frames, and we'll check out on the daily. But what we're looking at right here is the top of this expanded wedge. I drew it as a channel at this point because I know that we're going to get some sort of reversal. We're going to get it. It's going to happen. This channel coincides with the 50-week moving average really well. Also, with this pivot from the Corona crash lows. So this is going to be a very important area. If we start breaking down, we could get to the bottom of the channel. I'm looking to cross and test these former highs here, right here and here. I'm looking to test these highs. And we keep talking about this consolidation area. The first test will be this former high around 470, 472. If we get below that, after a reaction, we get below that, then I think this is going to be a very big area where we're going to get a significant bounce. Once that bounce happens, we're going to have to decipher whether this is a 5-wave move down as an impulse wave, or if this is a 3-wave correction. So that will determine whether we get a lower high and continue lower, or get a bounce and make a new high. Also, we'll be keeping an eye on a Fed pivot. That's going to have a lot to do with what happens. I could see this reversing and then getting a bounce in the Fed pivot. Either is somewhere around this lower high, or the Fed doesn't have a chance to pivot yet and we make new highs. That's kind of how I'm looking at it on a fundamental mind frame. So this potentially still could get new highs, but I do think we'll get a correction next. Okay, so let's go down to the daily time frame. I also want to show you that if we do, I'm going to keep this in mind, that we move this channel to the bottom here, because this potentially could be, and I'll show you on the daily time frame, a 1, 2, 3, and perhaps we get that wave 4 down to the channel where it breaks down from this resistance, but fake breaks and heads above. And that would be an ending diagonal scenario where we cross over wave 2 and wave 4, okay? Or wave 1 and wave 4 cross. Okay, and then we get a wave 5 above. Is the market capable of going higher? Of course, clearly. Now I also want to reiterate the 8 EMA. We're still above there, so something to keep an eye on. We're in an uptrend. We're just looking for a reversal into resistance. Going to the daily, trend is our friend. Going to this daily time frame, this is the consolidation area that I'm talking about. These are some of the levels. We're working our way right into a few different spots here. So if I highlight this one, that's the same line that we're looking at for the channel top. And then if I zoom in a little bit more, we have the ending diagonal here to this top. That's this line here from top. Let me adjust that just a little bit. So we have the intersection here. There's a rejection off of that point. It connects with that rejection, and we start off with that rejection there. Okay, so we have a solid trend line so far, assuming that the reversal happens from here. And this is the longer term one that we're just looking at. And also there's a channel from the low here to the low here, and then I connected them. You'll see it better on the 65 minute, where you have multiple points and a fake break here, and that's intersecting all in this area here. So this is an objective short, and that's just all there is to it. And if we get above that point, we know that there's more room to the upside. Now we reached some of those targets that we were talking about yesterday on yesterday's video, so we'll revisit those. But I don't want to spend too much time on this video in particular. So let's go ahead and go over to reiterate our primary, secondary counts. Okay, we finally got the touch up here. Okay, so we're at the top of this expanding diagonal, ending diagonal for a major top. Okay, this expanding diagonal expands and also gains momentum as it works. So you see the shorter wave 1, ABC. It's all 3 wave moves. ABC for 2, ABC for 3, which is expanded. It's larger than wave 1. And this wave 4 is larger than wave 2. It's starting to expand. And then wave 5 clearly is the blow off top. It is the definition of a blow off top. We have our ABC correction here, right into the top of this ending diagonal. I never really thought that we could have got to that point. Okay, so this is where we top from wave 1 to wave 3. And we have to keep in mind, if we decide to go a little bit higher, you can count this as A, B, C for wave 1 right here. So that would change the dynamic, where it gives you just a little bit more room to the upside. Okay, so that would mean we have a little bit more room, possibly to the 512 area. Just a rough estimate, 512, 513. And perhaps because it's a rising pivot, 515. Okay, that would be in the very near term alternate count, but we have to respect that we may have our reversal right off of this one, where wave 1 starts here. This is how I see most people counting this, but it's just speculative, just to give you structure of what's going on. This seems to work out perfect for the moment. We get on top of this and we're going up higher. Okay, and we'll probably see stocks like Nvidia or perhaps Tesla starts doing something. It seems to be pretty insignificant right now, but somebody's going to have to hold up the market, with all the other market breadth being very bad. But I will show you on the lower time frame for IWM and QQQ and show you kind of why I think this one works out really well. Okay, and so our alternate plan after we get our reversal and correction, then we have to see what happens next. This is our alternative count. This is our alternate count where this wave 3, I have to adjust all of these. I'll do that later. This wave 3, this is a much larger wave 1, ABC for 1, ABC for 2, ABC for 3, and we're going to get a little bit smaller as we are in an ending diagonal. In this case, we get an ABC for a 3-wave move for 4, where we cross back over wave 1. The wave 4 crosses wave 1, and that could be at the 50%. It could be as deep as the 62% as well. But we'll be looking for that. It's going to be a major area around the 200-day moving average. So this is going to be very important. I think this 50% is where it's at. And that's very typical for ending diagonals. Okay, and then we'll have an ABC, a 3-wave move up to surpass this wave 3 up top here. Okay, so this will be such a dynamic area. It just so happens that this 382 all the way to 50% is just about that whole consolidation area that we're talking about back here. From this zone, if you notice, that's the 382. That's the top of our zone. The bottom of our zone is at 50% retracement. And then you have the 60% where it stretches out, where you have this spike here. Okay, so that's our game plan. That's what we're looking at. Now let's go down to the lower time frame so we can just see if we have a little bit more information to pull out of this. Now with the SPY, you see all the interactions here. I highlighted them. It's getting real messy in here with lines, but this is where they all intersect right here. And we rejected off of it so far. Maybe we have a 1-2 setup right here. But either way, I do think on the lower time frame, it's going to be important to tag down to this gap area to test this out after such a large gap. This, it's very well could be an exhaustion gap after such a run, having such a large gap up. And then you have this top that should provide support if it's going to hold. So we'll check that out going into next week. I don't think any of that's going to happen today. If we get down to the Elliott wave picture on the 65, this is what we talked about yesterday. Our Elliott wave, this is the end of C here. This is all wave C of 5. And we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up here. And we're rejecting off of that 127.2% at the 509 mark here. And I said that this is a window where we could have a top. We have a high to high, a high to high to high window that is potential with price and time to be a reversal area. So far that's the case. We just need confirmation that that is so. We are getting some reversal candles on the daily time frame on the QQQ and the SPY, so we'll be checking those out. All right, let's go across the board here to the Qs on the 65. So this, potentially, we made a brand new high right here, but we're breaking down. We're having trouble keeping this all-time high, so that's could possibly be a fake break. We'll have to check that out. We have this trend line that we broke down from. This, in my mind, it's still considered a back test. We did break above it, so if we can't hold above this trend line that's been going on since the October lows, then that will be a fake break to the downside, and that we're just back testing that area. Again, we have two island gaps here going on, and we're gonna test them. IWM. This one I really wanted to show because this potentially, here's the deal. With the daily time frame, if we put on this picture here, I just want to show, here it is, the daily. This has been our long-term channel that we've been in for quite some time, so I better show the daily so you can see all of it. This has been this kept price contained for quite some time, and this is going to be the end all be all for this move here. Whether we reject off of this point, I'm looking to get to this 201, or perhaps the top of this bear flag again. And to reject, that would be the scenario we're looking at. But if we get above 201 to 202 area and hold above, unlike both of these moves here, then that's going to be very bullish, and something else is going to keep the market going, and that would be IWM. Now, going back to the 65, we have some reactions already. We could have a high in already. I do think we try to fill the gap, and I'll show you why in the Elliott wave. But we have a downtrend line, that fake break here. We got to get price above. We got to get price above this bear flag, or we can consider this a triangle. And basically, price action's getting tight here, and we have to see a break above or break below, and we'll consider this the bottom of this trend here. We'll consider that the break below. So you can kind of see between the bottom of the channel and this top downtrend line, it's just basically a triangle, and price is tightening up here, and we're looking for a break to the upside or downside, and that will be very telling on where the market is going at this point. And if we go over to the Elliott wave, here's our picture. We're rejecting off the 50%, which is very typical, and that could be the top right there. I was looking for a little bit more at this 201, at the 62% retracement, or even as high as the 786, because that would be right where our downtrend line is as well. So we're in the zone. We're close. If we get rejection off here from IWM, the market won't have enough help to get the rest of the SPY and QQQ moving to the upside, unless, of course, NVIDIA is carrying everything along with Meta, and then that will be a whole nother ball game. But that's why we keep an eye on them at all times, where we're getting a big rejection off of NVIDIA today. All right, so on a 65-minute, you see the 200-day moving average. It's a very good indicator of a trend. It's also near the 20-day moving average as well. So again, we're making these coils kind of like Baidu, what we were talking about yesterday. We're making higher lows. We're starting to break this low here. So, we're at support here, and then the next stop would be down here where the 50-day moving average is, and also the gap. So if this VIX continues to break down into Monday, we could see a little bit higher prices in the stock market, or at least where IWM is moving to the upside, and SPY and QQQ aren't really doing much, because I think that there's a little bit of unfinished business in the small caps. So we'll keep an eye on the VIX. We start to hold this indicator, which usually you get a spike through, and then you, just like these, you get a spike through and then you break back above it. It's very typical for moving averages. You don't usually reverse right off of them, but it has happened. For example, right here. All right. So again, move down here, market continues to move to the upside. Close this gap, market continues to move to the upside. We're watching the VIX. We're watching the big cap, monster tech. We'll check out NVIDIA on the weekly time frame just so you can get a view of what's happening there. But I think it speaks for itself. We are likely to have a a recent top happening here. So pushed off of this 8-day moving average. We're well, it doesn't look like it, but we're well from the top area. I think we gapped up at like 4 or 5% here. We're at 823 at the top here, and we already lost 25 points like it's nothing. So this is the blow off top here. We'll be watching NVIDIA. If it continues to move to the upside, then it could hold the market up along with the small caps and Meta as well. So that's all I got for you today. We'll get the big picture and all the divergences into tomorrow. So thanks for joining us here at Option Center. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.